Welcome back to Hammer Horror in Order, where the whole point of the series is right there in the title. We're watching the releases from Hammer films in the order in which they were released. So specifically the thrillers and the horrors that they did throughout the year. So we have worked our way up to the year 1966. This is actually the movie that played on a double bill with the one that we talked about last month. Last month it was Dracula, Prince of Darkness from January 9th of 66. So this came out the exact same day in the UK, and then January 12th of 1966 here in the United States, and that is The Plague of the Zombies. Now, this one doesn't have the star power necessarily of Dracula. That's Christopher Lee in his big return, because I think he hadn't done it in what 6 to 8 years at that point.
Hmm.
So that was a big one. But this one played at the same time, which and now after watching both movies, that would have been a pretty good double bill to check out for
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah.
You know, but this one, yeah, I've seen posters for it and everything, but I'd
I
never watched it before. Had you?
no, and honestly, like I hadn't even seen posters. Like I was a complete novice to Hammer prior to, us taking on this series. Um, but yeah,
That's
yeah,
the one thing that I have found is like I thought I had watched more Hammer than I had over the years. I have found going through these that like I haven't watched nearly as much as I thought I did.
mhm,
But like I've got, I mean, just off camera here, I've got some books on the shelf over here, like random older horror books, like
mhm,
just the history of horror films, all that kind of jazz. And a lot of that stuff, these Hammer movies are in those. So I've always seen the posters, seen the images
yeah,
of a lot of these movies and just never got around to watching them. So that's one thing I've always enjoyed about this series is that it's finally giving us an excuse to sit down and watch some of these classics. And we have found some surprises along the way. I think by and large, when we always say this in the series, the one conclusion I think we've generally come to is that almost no Hammer movie sucks. Like we haven't really found one that's just, man, this is terrible. There might be a couple that we didn't like as much as others,
yeah.
but there hasn't been like a total shit one.
That's true.
You know
Yeah.
that because Hammer Studios just the machine that they were,
Hmm.
they just knew what they were doing. So even in one that you didn't like as much story wise, technically it's a sound movie. You know, I think that's one conclusion that we've come to. But this one is above that though. But I think, and we'll give you our total rating here towards the end. We always come to like kind of a consensus on this. So, we discussed it beforehand and we have a number, but we'll see where it places with some of the other. But I think we've kind of got that scale now where like, you know, I'll say this, man, we haven't found much top top tier something
Yeah.
even. Not many have come close to the Curse of Frankenstein or even Horror of Dracula.
No,
If you
no.
just
But
look at what we've done.
I mean, I did like this.
Yeah,
The
yeah.
only thing is for me is that the effects are pretty solid for the time.
Hmm.
But is this something I would watch again? To me, it's not. Um,
I think I would with the passage of a little time. It's not something I would like, oh, in 6 months I want to check this out again kind of
yeah,
thing,
yeah. To me,
maybe a few years down the line.
it has to reach that threshold for me to, give it higher than, you know, what we settled on.
Hmm.
Um, but still, the effects are pretty solid, you know, given, the time frame and uh,
Yeah, because the whole premise, we don't do spoilers on this series, but the whole premise of this movie too is you got like kind of like that old timey idea of zombie. This is like the original idea, I guess, of the term zombie. Because now you say zombie, you think Romero, Night of the Living Dead,
No.
Walking Dead, all that stuff, right? The zombies that are the dead reanimated, kind of slowly lumbering towards you to come. But these are like the old voodoo zombies, is what's going on
Yeah.
here. This
Yeah.
is the old school idea of zombie. Um, like I said, I don't want to give away too much as far as like how this thing ends, but like that one of the problems I always have with, well, not always, but with some Hammer movies is that it takes you time to get there to any kind of action,
Yeah. Slow burn. Um,
to a degree, like this and any Hammer, like they are a little slower. They don't have the pacing of modern
yeah.
movies, that's for
The
sure.
the it's a little dialogue heavy. Because they are telling a story. I get that. I understand.
Yeah,
But yeah, I, I I struggle with that.
yeah.
Like
And a lot of Hammer movies are that we've watched so far in the series are like that, where
it's still better than reading a book though.
well, for you
Yeah,
that's a low bar, but um,
thanks.
like the thing I've always noticed is you usually get almost exactly halfway through any Hammer movie, and that's when something happens. So most of them are about an hour 25, an hour 30.
Hmm.
So sometime around the 45-minute mark,
Yeah.
almost every time, that's when something's going to happen, and then it ratchets up. It kind of enters that big moment in Act Two, and now we're going into Act Three, and that's usually where the action is, so to speak, in a Hammer
Mm.
movie. Um, this one takes its time getting there, but once it gets there, I think it delivers pretty well. There are some times you look at it and you're like, yeah, this is 1966, all right, but then in other times it still holds up pretty well, like you
Yeah.
said. So
Yeah. I mean, for the time period, felt
I
pretty
mean,
solid.
if,
There's
if it lacks anything, it's name value. I mean, there's no Christopher Lee, no Peter Cushing, nothing like that.
I don't think it really needs that though.
No, no, not necessarily, but I just mean that like if you're comparing this to say what we just talked about last month,
Yeah.
you know, even though I think technically we like this one. Well, no, we didn't. I'm sorry, I was looking at the wrong number. No, we like that. We like Dracula, Prince of Darkness better,
Yeah.
but um, it's tough to compare those type of movies too, because like Hammer kind of started doing the Universal monster stuff, Dracula, Frankenstein, Mummy, stuff like that. So it's almost hard to compare those, even Hammer's output of those monster movies to something like this, because this is like supernatural voodoo curse type stuff. I did appreciate with this one that it wasn't gaslighting.
Mm.
Because a lot of Hammer movies, we always, it seems like we talk about it a lot. Uh, it's mostly somebody pulling the wool over somebody's eyes.
Yeah.
Not this one. Like what you see, it's really happening. So like at least there's that. I'm talking about the zombie aspect of it.
Yeah. Yeah. And I guess I was trying to kind of um figure out where else have we seen in I don't want to say modern, but let's say where else have we seen like the type of voodoo doll, like type of voodoo zombies? I mean, no,
Older zombie movies. I'm blanking on some. I know there was that really old one called White Zombie. We haven't watched a lot here
yeah,
on either of these series
yeah,
or on the
yeah.
podcast or anything, but that's kind of what the idea was back then of zombie movies was voodoo type stuff. And then I think it wasn't until Romero comes along that, he flipped the script and now that's just what zombies are. But
Well, this doesn't really have anything to do with Hammer, but and maybe I'm blank. Well, actually, I know I'm blanking, but I can't. Well, I think this may have been. Well, there was voodoo there as well, but Serpent in the Rainbow.
yeah,
I don't know if that was actually zombies. I think that was cannibals.
the only th the only thing I want to talk about, we generally can't talk about here because we're not giving spoilers,
Yeah.
but the point of, I don't want to go too far, but the point of the zombies. I was like,
Mm.
huh? Okay.
Yeah.
Just go watch the movie and
Yeah,
see what I'm
it's
talking
definitely
about.
worth watching.
Yeah, it is.
Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
Yeah, like just like ratings are subjective.
Mhm.
Like
Yeah, we always encourage
yeah,
that. Anything we do, like, look, we're
especially Hammer.
we're only trying to tell you whether it's, you can take our word for it. If it's total shit, we'll tell you that. But if it's decent, we'll tell you that as well. I mean, we'll tell you, I think you can trust our opinions. We've been talking movies for many years now and watching this crap for a lifetime. And especially like somebody like the Professor Smoke even longer, right? I mean, like he's been watching this stuff since the crib, so you can trust our opinions on these matters and we'll tell you whether it's worth your wasting your time with something or not.
Yeah.
And that's why I say Hammer is quality stuff, so it rarely
Yeah.
disappoints. This one, it may not be action packed, but there's plenty enough action in it, especially in that, midway through the second act and the last half of the movie where, you won't be disappointed. So we came together beforehand and we gave it a rating of 2.5 hammers, and that's out of five. So on our scale, that puts it about pretty much right there with some past episodes like Nightmare, The Old Dark House, The Shadow of the Cat, Hell is a City, The Snorkel, The Quatermass Experiment, which I think might have been where we started all this, right? Was that
No, I think it was X the
X the
Unknown.
Unknown? Yeah. Which ironically you mentioned that this is right above that because we gave that 2.25 hammers. So it's just above X the Unknown, The Evil of Frankenstein, those movies. So it slots nicely right there, I think. Like it's not top notch Hammer, but it's far from low end Hammer so far. And this is the what do we say, the 38th?
38.
Yeah,
Yeah.
38th edition of this. So we've watched 38 movies now. So we got a nice feel for the scale, so to speak, of where things should land. And I think the thing that we're finding, honestly, is a lot of this stuff is kind of like in the middle. Like we got a bunch of stuff that's kind of on the cusp. What's that, about 8 movies or so? That's like
Yeah.
three hammers and up,
Yeah.
and then the top eight, and then there's everything else. So basically, 2.5 is kind of our dividing line of maybe 2 3/4 of kind of like.
Hmm.
So by our list, we have about 16 movies that you should go check these out so far out of 38. Those are ones we highly recommend. And the other ones, I think you'll still find enjoyment. They're just not as exciting. And that's, I think, where the Plague of the Zombies falls in.
Yeah.
So there you go. That's enough of that. So next month, we're still in the year of 1966, but we're fast forwarding a couple of months into March of 1966, and we're going to be talking about Rasputin the Mad Monk. Now, all I know about this one is that it's Christopher Lee. But it's a completely different type of character that we've seen so far from him here in the Hammer Horror and Order series. So come back next month for that. Month of December, although we literally fall in chronological order here, so it's not going to be like Christmas related. It's Rasputin the Mad Monk. But on all of our other series in December, all Christmas horror or Christmas related things over on Grindhouse Gutter, uh, Video Vortex, both of those here on the YouTube channel. And of course, the podcast proper. We got tons of Christmas horror coming at you in the month of December. So this is all leading up to episode 300, I think the very first show in January. We got a doozy lined up for that. So we'll be talking about that over on the podcast. So you don't want to miss that. And go check out aspookshow.com. But please subscribe, stay here on the channel. Go check out all these other videos that we do, these 3 series that we do every month. All the podcast episodes get uploaded here as well. And we got tons and tons and tons of archived content here on the
So much.
channel. So stick around, check it out, and thanks for watching.
See y'all.